These are 3 property investment dummy mistakes that hopefully you don't make, coming from a mortgage broker with 15 years experience and dealing with thousands of clients. Mistake number 1 is not having a specific goal in terms of the numerical amount you need to make in a certain amount of time and writing that goal down. For example, when I talk to first-time investors and I go, look, what are you looking at doing? And they usually reply 99% of the time, building wealth. Well, what does that exactly mean? And mind you, you might think the general culprit of those people are like the Gen Zs or the Gen Ys, but usually people around their mid-30s to late 30s, they say the same thing. Now, on the contrary, if I ask that question and someone said to me, hey Q, I want to buy investment property now and in the next 3 to 5 years experience maybe 100K capital growth, I want to draw that out and then buy another property with that, then that is a specific goal. Now, the general solution to this as we go to my drawing board is to identify which phase of life are you in. Are you in your 20s, 30s, or late 40s? For example, you're in your early 20s. Well, primarily your goal, for example, hey, I want to buy a big property to live in. That's my first prime place of residence. So basically your timeline, maybe reaching towards your 30s, is to buy a big ass house. So I would probably suggest then, well, maybe you should buy a, affordable unit right now because you're on probably 80 to 90K and you can't get into that, $2 to $3 million property. Buy this unit first. And then after 3 to 5 years, as this property grows in capital growth, obviously you're gonna find the right property, might have 200K equity. And then you might either sell that or if your income has increased, pull out the equity to then try to get this. Do you see how that goal is very specific? There's a step-by-step process to it. It means starting small and then going big rather than going, oh, I just want to build wealth. And you got to remember, guys, different strategies apply to different people. For example, people in their sort of mid 40s to late 40s, they come to me to buy property under SMSF, because when you buy property under SMSF and then you transition to retirement around 65 to 67 and you sell it, there's 0 CGT. If you guys are lost in terms of what I just said, well, forget about it. Stay in your early 20s because that's where you are. But in terms of the late 40s, there are certain strategies in terms of property where you use it to transition to retirement. And then that's where I'll work with your financial planner to work out how much superannuation you need or how much funds you need so that you can reverse engineer the lifestyle you want to have and work out how much you need to spend per year and not just rely on government pension. And mistake number 2 is a lot of people do have a specific goal, but then they don't review it and they don't know when to review it or how to review it. So for example, going back to this table, you're in your early 20s, you've written down your specific goal after speaking to me and you're like, hey, I want to buy a small property, get in my foot into the market and then wait 3 to 5 years to pull out equity or either sell the whole thing and then use that to purchase a bigger place. Well, just because you put that goal down doesn't mean the universe has to align itself to make that goal, possible for you, because you need to review it. And if after 1 year and 2 years review of the property that you've purchased and reviewing the growth, if it's not going well, you got to cut your loss. But again, property is a long-term gain, so 1 to 2 years is probably not enough. It was just an example. Usually I would say from 5 to even 7 years. But again, people in their early 20s, they usually lack the patience. So I would suggest one virtue of property investment is to have freaking patience. But again, if every year your property has been going down and underperforming where there's negative growth, obviously cut your loss, either sell it before it gets worse and then get into the market. And yes, you need to pay stamp duty to get into the market, but then it's better than buying a bloody lemon that becomes a rotten lemon. And deadly mistake number 3 is not mitigating risk for the investment path that you set yourself on. This is usually for people who've purchased investment properties during the COVID, free cash money, low interest rate days. And now they're complaining that the mortgage cliff is coming. They didn't expect it. My 1.99% is over. You bitch. You didn't mitigate your fucking risk. If you were a serious investor, a long-term investor, you would have mitigated that the 1.99% will not last forever, okay? Interest rates go in cycles, ups and downs. So you were thinking, hey, interest rates are at 1.99, my yield is 4%. Woohoo! I pocket 2 to 3%. Haha, you dumbass. No, rates do go up. So for those pro investors, you would mitigate that risk by having a spreadsheet on Excel where you will forecast your cash flow. If rates went up to say 5 to even 7%, you can still make repayments rather than be forced to sell your freaking property, which will be going up in the next 4 to 5 years if you haven't sold it. Dummy. Another way of mitigating risk is, do you have insurance like income protection? For example, what if you lost your job? What if you were made redundant? How are you going to make these mortgage repayments? Do you have some sort of insurance that kicks in that makes the repayments for you? Another mitigant is, you went in with your spouse, happy, lucky days, no kids. Well, what if your spouse goes on maternity leave? What if a kid pops up and the expenses goes crazy? Did you mitigate that risk? Like, oh my God, people don't think about that shit, right? They think buying a property is like going to Woolies and buying a piece of vegetable. Like, guys, you guys need to get some form of insurance and treat it like a business. You run a business, you get insurance. You buy a property, you get some form of insurance to protect yourself in case risk arises. And always do a cash flow forecast of rates going up. You know how the banks add in their own buffer rate to protect themselves? You should add in your own fucking buffer rates, all right? So what if rates go up to 5 to 7%? Have you been spending all your fucking rent? Rather, have you been saving your rent to build up that buffer in your offset account so that when things go up, that buffer can make the repayments for you? Haha, do you think about that? So there you have it, guys. Those are the 3 main mistakes that hopefully you can avoid as noob investors. Now, I'm not blasting all first-time investors. Some first-time investors are very switched on. They got their spreadsheets, their budget, they're forecasting like crazy, and they're always reviewing their performance goals every year, asking the right questions, booking calls with me, seeking expert advice. So hopefully this video highlights the 3 potential mistakes that you might fall in if you're a first-time investor. And I don't want you to end up like those bloody investors where rates have gone up, they complain about the mortgage gift, they turn around the finger and go, oh, the RBA did this, the government did this. No, fucking you did this yourself, okay? Buying an investment property is like running your fucking own business. If you failed, it's your fucking fault. That's it, I'm done.